be studying the gross anatomical features of the urinary bladder. Now, urinary bladder is part of the excretory system and it is an organ or a viscous organ which lies predominantly in the pelvic cavity. It is a reservoir of urine. Now, when we talk of position of the urinary bladder, this varies with the age and with the amount of urine. In children, this organ is abdominopelvic, where the bladder neck, which is the lowermost point of the urinary bladder, that lies at just the upper border of the symphysis pubis. While in adults, it's a pelvic organ when it is empty, and therein the bladder neck lies just above the plane of the lower border of pubic symphysis. When distended, it becomes abdominopelvic. When we talk of shape of the bladder, as is seen here, an empty urinary bladder is tetrahedral in shape, while as it expands, it becomes ovoid. The capacity of the urinary bladder varies between 120 ml to 320 ml, averaging to about 220 ml. Now let us see the presenting parts of the urinary bladder. These are, when we talk of an empty or a tetrahedral urinary bladder, the presenting parts are the apex, the base or also known as the posterior-inferior surface, the superior surface, and two inferolateral surfaces, plus the lowermost point of the urinary bladder is the neck. So, presenting parts would be the apex, the base or the posterior surface, other surfaces are superior surface and two inferolateral surfaces. These surfaces are demarcated by well-defined borders. This here is the anterior border which separates the two inferolateral surfaces. These are the two lateral borders which separate the superior surface from each of the inferolateral surfaces, and this here is the posterior border which separates the superior surface from the posterior or posterior-inferior surface. Thus, we have seen the morphological features of the urinary bladder. Now we go on to see some relations also. The apex is directed forwards towards the upper part of the symphysis pubis, and it gives attachment to the median umbilical ligament. The base or the posterior-inferior surface is directed backwards and downwards. It is triangular and non-peritoneal except in males, where the upper part of this surface up to the upper end of the seminal vesicles is covered by peritoneum. The relations of this surface: in males, this surface is related to the rectovesical pouch and the ampulla of rectum, a pair of seminal vesicles, the ampulla of the vas deferens, and the rectovesical fascia. While in females, this surface is related to the anterior vaginal wall and the anterior surface of the supravaginal part of cervix. We then go on to the superior surface. This is triangular and is covered with peritoneum. The relations of this surface: it is related to the sigmoid colon, coils of small intestine, and in females, it's additionally related to the anterior surface of an anteverted uterus. Then we move on to see the inferolateral surfaces. These surfaces are directed downwards and laterally and are mostly non-peritoneal. They are related to the pelvic surface of the body of pubis and the pelvic surface of the symphysis pubis. The fascia covering the levator ani and the obturator internus muscles, and a space of Retzius which contains retropubic fat and plexus of vesical veins. The anterior border extends from the apex to the neck of the bladder, and it separates the two inferolateral surfaces from each other. The posterior border separates the superior surface from the base and extends between the entrances of the two ureters. The lateral borders, each border separates the superior surface from the inferolateral surface and extends from the entrance of the ureter up to the apex of the urinary bladder. The neck of the urinary bladder is the lowest part of the bladder from where the urethra begins. It is situated 3.4 centimeters behind the lower border of the symphysis pubis, and in males, as is seen in this specimen, the neck of the urinary bladder is surrounded by the base of the prostate gland, while in females it lies at a lower level and comes in contact with the superior fascia of the urogenital diaphragm. In a distended bladder, the shape is ovoid, and there the morphological features would be the four surfaces which are known as antro-inferior, postro-superior and two lateral surfaces, and it has got a summit, a base and a neck. Now let us see what are the ligaments of the urinary bladder. The bladder has true and false ligaments. True ligaments are 9 in number. These are fibrous bands with some amount of smooth muscle fibers, and they help in anchoring the urinary bladder. These are the median umbilical ligament, 4 puboprostatic or pubovesical ligaments, which are pairs of medial and lateral ligaments, a pair of lateral ligaments, and a pair of posterior true ligaments. The false ligaments are 7 in number. These are nothing but peritoneal folds, the median umbilical fold, a pair of medial umbilical folds, a pair of lateral false ligaments, and a pair of sacrogenital folds. Now let us see what is the bladder bed. This is nothing but it consists of a number of structures upon which the urinary bladder rests. These are the symphysis pubis and body of pubis, fasciae of levator ani and obturator internus muscles, retropubic fat, ampulla of rectum or anterior wall of vagina, base of prostate gland or the superior fascia of urogenital diaphragm. Now let us go on to see the interior of the urinary bladder. When we open up and see the interior of the urinary bladder, we see here temporary mucus folds or rugae which are seen all along the interior of the urinary bladder, except a triangular area which shows no mucosal folds, and that is the trigone of the bladder. These rugae or temporary mucosal folds disappear when the bladder gets distended. The trigone is an equilateral triangle seen on the inner aspect of the base of the bladder, where the mucous membrane is tense and glistening due to absence of the submucous coat. What are the boundaries of this trigone? The apex is directed downwards and forwards, formed by the internal urethral orifice, and is crescentric in shape. In males, a rounded elevation called as uvula vesicae projects upwards just behind the urethral orifice and is formed by the median lobe of the prostrate. The base of this trigone is formed by the interureteric ridge or the Mercier's bar, which extends between the orifices of the two ureters. This is formed by prolongation of the inner longitudinal muscle of the ureters. Each posterolateral angle shows the presence of the ureteric orifice, which is seen as an oblique slit 2.5 centimeters from each other when the bladder is empty, while they are about 5 centimeters away from each other when the bladder is distended. What is the importance of the trigone? This is the most fixed and dependent part of the urinary bladder. It is richly supplied with blood vessels and nerves, and it develops from mesoderm by incorporation of the caudal parts of the two mesonephric ducts, while the mucosal surface of the remaining urinary bladder is endodermal in origin. Now let us see the arterial supply of the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is supplied by the superior vesical artery and the inferior vesical artery. Both are branches of the internal iliac artery. In females, the inferior vesical artery is replaced by the vaginal artery. Additionally, the arteries like obturator artery, inferior gluteal artery also supply the urinary bladder, while in females, the uterine artery also supplies the urinary bladder. The venous drainage, veins from the urinary bladder form a vesical plexus, which lies in the space of Retzius. It communicates inferiorly with the prostatic venous plexus in males, and in both sexes, the veins or the venous plexus ultimately drains into the internal iliac vein. The lymph nodes draining the urinary bladder are divided into three groups: anterior, intermediate and posterior. The anterior groups drain the lymphatics from the apex and the inferolateral surfaces. The intermediate group drains the superior surface, while the posterior group drains the base. All these groups ultimately drain the lymphatics into the external iliac lymph nodes. Nerve supply of the urinary bladder comes from sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic preganglionic fibers coming from T11 to L2 segments of the spinal cord, and those are present in the superior hypogastric plexus. These fibers stimulate the sphincter vesicae and inhibit the detrusor muscle. Thus, this is the nerve of filling. While parasympathetic supply, here the preganglionic fibers come from S2 to S4 segments from the pelvic splanchnic nerves or from the nervus erigentis. These supply the detrusor muscle and are thus the nerve of emptying. Thus we have seen the features of urinary bladder. Now let us see how do we differentiate between the urinary bladder to find out whether the specimen belongs to a male or a female. What we see here is the urinary bladder. When you see the specimen, just turn it upside down and try to look out for a firm structure related to the neck of the urinary bladder. If present, that is the prostate gland, and also shows the opening of the prostatic urethra, and that tells you that if this is present, then the urinary bladder is of a male, and we confirm it by having a look at the base, where we will additionally also see the pair of seminal vesicles and also the vas deferens on both the sides. While in a female urinary bladder, when we see the inferior aspect, there will be no presence of any firm structure there, and also the base will not be showing presence of any additional structures, and that shows us that this is urinary bladder of the female.